he stood up and I'm sorry. Shall I start over? I was born the son of a poor black sharecropper. No, but Aaron dedicated himself, worked hard, ended up at San Francisco State, which is a really prestigious but really tough school for mathematics. And after a year or so, you know, the dark clouds came back into his head, and I think he's probably 1 or 2 semesters away from getting, you know, a degree in big boy mathematics from that school, which would meant a lot. Ditched it, ran away, and he came and he lived with Caroline and me in Ojai, and that's when he said, "I want to be an online poker player." And you know, when he went to Providence, the administration informed me that they were giving me a $10,000 scholarship based on his math SAT scores. I mean, he didn't even apply for it. You know, that's how clueless he was, and me, and all of us. But they gave it to him because he was a genius. And I would sit there and watch him play on his computer screen 4 online Texas Hold'em tournaments, and he would say, "Oh, that guy already burned the 9. That guy already burned the," you know. And I'm thinking, I can't even count cards if I was playing Go Fish. He was that way, but it was his genius, but it was also in a way, I think, his curse. He liked to live in his head. He liked to be alone. He got a job installing high-end audiovisual stuff for rich people in Ojai. He excelled at it. He was always the guy who didn't have $2 in his pocket, but knew that the best restaurant and the best audiovisual thing and all that. I don't know. I still to this day don't know how he knew all that stuff. That job fell apart. But before it fell apart, the owner of the company got him a job doing the same thing in Santa Barbara, in Montecito. He excelled. People loved him. And then, you know, one day I called him up and I said, "So how's the job going?" And he said, "I quit it." He ran away again. He said, "You know, Dad, I don't think I'm a 9 to 5 guy." And I said, "Well, of course you are. It's just the 9 o'clock starts p.m. and you know." And that was the dark days of Aaron. He was living in the Ventura house, and the people next door got word to us that they were thinking that he was in some sort of abusive relationship, and because they would hear screaming at 2 and 3 in the morning, and eventually somebody got up and peeked in the window, and there was nothing going on. It was just Aaron sitting at the dining room table in front of his computer, yelling at, you know, the people he was playing poker with. And that's when the second angel of mercy came into his life, and that's when he met KT. I think, you know, he was in his late 20s. He was really hurting. He was really confused. He was 30. Yeah, he was confused. He never had a vision of what would make him happy in his life until he met KT. And they went out for a while, and eventually they took each other's hand and said, let's try this, okay? And they went down that road, being an adult. 5 years and less 1 month ago, right here in AG, they got married. I think shortly after that, at Ben's wedding, they watched Nina run like the crazy girl she is with a bunch of little kids, and they said, let's try that too. And Etta came, and they found a way to have a happy family. You know, Aaron. I mean, all the times that we would go and visit them, I never saw Aaron so happy and so uncluttered with all of the shit that is life, as when he was holding Etta and when he was playing with her, and he taught her so much, you know, including Sports Center 24 hours a day. Anyway, they finally scraped the money together to buy their first house. KT got pregnant again, another beautiful little girl. You know, the bright sun of life was finally starting to shine under the closed doors of their life, and they, you know, everything was opening up. It was all going to be so great, and then this shit happened, and I don't know, you know, I have sort of decided to be pissed off rather than heartbroken, although I am heartbroken. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. Thank you all from our extended family. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for loving our boy and his family. And you know, there are a lot of people who lit prayer candles for Aaron when he was in the hospital, and a lot of people who have said prayers in church and all that. And you know, I just want to say that if you're in communication with God, I have one question for him, or her, whatever it is, and that question is, what the fuck? You know, this was not right. This didn't need to happen. He lived his whole life dedicated to creating the smallest footprint ever. He didn't want to be a big deal. He just wanted to get along. He just wanted to be happy with his family, and he was. And so I'm going to set this down. I'm sorry for, you know, letting loose my anger, but I hope that all of you will come and pick up the microphone and remember our beautiful boy. Okay, thanks.
Anybody have anything to add? Stories are great.
I got a million Aaron stories. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Hodges. I'm Aaron's stepdad. And I met Aaron when he just turned 3, and I was blessed with learning family life with Aaron and Jenny and Melanie, and I knew from the very beginning that when I met Aaron that he was a very special young guy, and which really didn't surprise me, because really had 2 extraordinary parents, Melanie and Steve. But and I'll just give you a short story that really captures Aaron in my view. I think Jenny was about 9, and she was struggling with long division, and so she came to me and said, I want some help with my long division problem. So I sat down with Jenny and I gave her what I thought was a beautiful theoretical exposition on how she needed to do this, and she didn't get it, and she just was pretty much just show me how to do the problem, and so and I was frustrated, she was frustrated, and I think Aaron was maybe 5, and I knew he was a bright kid, and so I thought, well, I'm going to try this out on him. And he had done his adding. I think he had doing some basic math in kindergarten or something. And so I sat down with him. I said, okay, Aaron, let me take you through things. And we went through some of his adding problems, and then we did some subtraction. And they said, okay, we're going to do something called multiplication. And so we started to do some simple multiplication, and he got that. It wasn't like that was something that was tough for him. He just did it. And then we got to division. And sure enough, and this took about 20 minutes, he was doing long division, not just 2 into 8. You know, we were carrying numbers, and I was blown away by it. And so I thought I'd really stretch him, and then we started to solve for some unknowns. So he was doing basically simple algebra. He's a 5-year-old kid, and I was congratulating myself on being a really great teacher, but actually it was in him. That was just. In 20 minutes, we probably could have been doing quadratic equations if I could have figured out how to do it. So, and that was Aaron, and he wasn't all that. He wasn't impressed with himself because that was just what he did. It was like, okay, I just did that. Now let's go play Star Wars, and that was the way he was his whole life. He was just an amazing guy when it came to capturing the most abstract concepts, and his academics showed it. It was very easy for him, but it wasn't. You know, he didn't have to show you he was the smartest guy in the room. He just was, and you'd get it. So and he didn't want to make a big footprint. Steve really got that about what a wonderful person Aaron was, and how amazingly bright he was, and we're going to miss him.
So I'm Justin, and I've known Aaron since we were in 3rd grade, and we actually met just over the hill. We lived on Saratoga, and I lived on like 3rd, and he was on 5th, I think. And I mean, you know, you all have your, you know, the person that you met, like your first friend, your first like friend, and that was Aaron. And we would go to the butterfly fields, and we would go to the lagoons over here and try to get to the island in the middle. We would make little rafts and try to mess around. I mean, in 3rd grade, I don't know, we'd run around and go to it was funny just driving around town. I mean, we're up in San Francisco now, so I don't spend as much time in AG as I used to, but on 4th Street there's a little liquor market that Aaron and I used to go to, and we would just give the cashier hell. We would just give them, so like we'd buy those little gumball packages that have all the gumballs in them, and go play Indiana Jones and just driving by and seeing all these old places. It's crazy. But I was lucky enough to go and live with Aaron and Steve and Tony and everyone in London at one point. And that's the kind of thing that, like, for me, it completely put my life on this whole different track, where thanks to Aaron and to Steve and the family, that, like, it opened my whole perspective to what the world is and what's out there. And that was it's like one of those pinnacle things in your life. You get to see the world in this way. And Aaron and I ran around London, and I remember we went to Ireland to go look. We were looking for site locations for The Princess Bride, and for those of you who've seen it, the Cliffs of Moher, when Andre the Giant's climbing the cliff, climbing, and we were there, and we were like there, and I was a little kid, and I got to see Andre the Giant. I got to see this Ireland, this whole different place. That's like, what third grader gets to see that? And we went to a little coffee shop, I remember, and Steve ordered a coffee, and Aaron ordered a hot chocolate, and I was like, I'm gonna get a coffee. And I got a coffee, and it was terrible. It was awful. First coffee. That was my first coffee. Was with Aaron and Steve in Ireland. And I mean, that was such a lucky time for me, and to spend that with him. And we came back and just stayed friends forever. And he moved around the corner, and it just, like, last night, the last couple of days, seeing some people reminded me about things that I didn't even remember. I remember, well, Jenny, you reminded me that I ate Steve's breakfast in London. Remember that, Steve? It was delicious, I'm sure. Thank you. And there was a point at which, like, I was taking Aaron on my mom's bike back to his house on the Pike, and he was sitting on the handlebars, and they collapsed on the front tire, and he was closer to the front, so he just did a little fall, and I did a big fall, and I landed right on my head, and he was there, and then he went to go get Brian, and he came down, and I had a concussion, apparently, because I kept asking Brian and Aaron, like, are you okay? What's going on? And something else, like 45 times, just like over and over and over and over and over. And I was like, just all these random memories of your oldest friends. It's so crazy. So I don't know. One thing that I will always keep, like, I mean, as close to my heart as ever, were the summers that we would spend down in Pasadena at Steve and Tony's place, and we would play basketball back there, and they had the little black bottom thing, and it was so much fun, and we played basketball, and like for me, just having those memories are some of the best kind of summertime things that I remember ever from my childhood, and that home and those times were really special. We were there, in fact, during there's a Pasadena earthquake or whatever, something happened. We were there, and threw me out of bed, and I looked up at Aaron, and he was like, holy shit, what's happening? That was my first earthquake. I had my first earthquake with Aaron in Pasadena. That was crazy. So I don't know. I didn't really prepare anything to say, but I think that Aaron always was the one that would bring people together and would leave, like, just the best kind of thing, like anything that somebody could take away from the situation, he would leave them with the best experience or the best memories, or I don't know. I loved him. He was great. So I don't know, I could go on and telling stories that no one else was around for, but I love him and I miss him, and I love, you know, everybody who was here. So
Love you.
thanks, guys.
Oops, don't go anywhere, pups. Oops, whoops. Steve, can you grab the dogs, please? So my name is Caroline Thompson. I am one of Aaron's two stepmothers, the other being Tony Devereaux. I did not have the joy of knowing Aaron as a little boy. I met him when he was 19. We did spend a tremendous amount of time together. We actually lived together, but we lived different shifts. I had the day shift, he had the night shift. He was playing poker all night and I was asleep, or trying to, as he yelled at the computer. But one thing that's been amazing about this horrible experience is the love that's come Aaron's way and our way from people who've never met Aaron. And this morning on Facebook, one of those people called David Goldsmith, who happens to be the son of the most interesting man in the world, the Dos Equis guy, who said, what, stay thirsty, my friend. So anyway, so this is from the son of the stay thirsty, my friend guy. Steve posted a picture this morning, and this is Goldie's response. I see this picture and I think to myself, what lucky guys. He had an amazing adventure in this life. Yeah, it was too short, but wow. And the cherry on top is that you, Steve, are his dad. Now it's getting too dark. You gave him his perspective. You gave him your essence. You shared with him what mattered. Steve, it's horrible loss for sure, but the legacy of his influence is what is today's celebration. You are an amazing friend, brilliant and important human being. Thus so was your son. All that surround you are blessed. If by chance you catch a reflection of yourself today, look closely and remember that. It's a sad day for sure. It is also another amazing day with you for everyone. Love you, love to your family, and most of all, love to the memories that will always be. Big hug to you guys. Oh, and remember to breathe. Thanks.